YouTube? Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about Avengers in... Wait. Today we're going to be talking about Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. This movie came out on May 5th, and it is the new Marvel movie that is that everybody's talking about. So I want to review it. This is going to be a spoiler-free section. I'll try and leave a timestamp of whenever I get into spoilers, and whenever we do get into spoilers, this will be over here. So that's how you would differentiate where I'm talking about spoilers and non-spoilers. And so let's just get right into the video. This movie is a must-see. That is, start off the rip. It is a must-see. Go out, stop watching this review, go see the movie so you can watch the spoilers. This movie has the heart, the soul, the funniness, the action, everything that you want in a Guardians film. And I think it is a perfect send-off. This is the last Guardians movie, by the way. This is a solid movie. And I think it is one that everyone needs to see. Even if you aren't a Marvel fan, if you're like down on Marvel, or just don't want to see Marvel movies or DC movies in general, go out and see this movie. This movie will give you a trip. It is so good. So let's just get right into it. The story is absolutely amazing. Our main plot point is that we are going to save Rocket. And I think that is such a good plot point for this movie. And that we get to see Rocket's overall backstory and how he was made and what exactly happened. Because we don't really know exactly what happened to Rocket. And so this movie does an excellent job of that. The overall presentation of this movie is pretty good. I enjoyed it very, very much. It's got the heart, it's got the soul, it's got the Guardians. It's got the Guardians like feel to it. And it is just super nice and it felt well done. And I want to applaud James Gunn for that. It was a fantastic movie, and you need to go out and see it. See Rocket's backstory and understand what really happened to this animal. And the movie deals with animal abuse, which I kind of freaking hate. See this movie, like, the High Extraordinary, like, oh my gosh, what an animal abuser. I mean, downright awful. He kicks the animals, he does experiments, he fixes them, puts like wheels, modifications on these animals, and it's super weird, and puts them in cages. And then, like, if they're not the way that he wants them, he just destroys the batch of them. And so we go on this adventure, and we find out Rocket's backstory, and it is so nice. I mean, this movie made me cry 3 times, and that's hard to do. The only movie that was able to do that was The Life of Timothy Green, The Notebook, and the Avengers Endgame. Those 3 movies. Oh my gosh! Those 3 movies made me cry a lot. Avengers Endgame made me cry like 5 times. Like, it was just so sad. This movie made me cry, and I just was in shock. This movie is 2 hours and 30 minutes long, so it has a little long runtime, but I think it's perfect. The runtime, I mean, I didn't feel it once while watching this. It was just super consistent. It was high paced. It was like, all right, we got the information. Let's go. Oh shoot, we got to figure this out now. Let's go here. And I think it kept its pace really well. In this movie, we see first F-bomb in a Marvel movie. That blows my mind that it's in this movie. I thought it'd be like in Secret Wars or Secret Invasion or something like that. But it's in this movie, and as a Christian, I don't think it's worth it. I don't think it's worth it. Like, there's no point. But it's really I don't know why my recording stopped, but I think it was freaking funny, and it was really hilarious to see what they can get away with. And I think for the scene that it was in, it was hilarious. It was very funny of how they used it. They used it well. They used their one F-bomb really well, and I think that deserves to be talked about in non-spoilers, because everybody's heard about it. So That's why it's going to be put in here. So let's just continue. One complaint that I did have with the music is I wish they would have stayed with the 70s and 80s music and used some of those. It would have been kind of cool to, have that. I think that's what this movie really needed, was not the 2000s playlist. It needed the 70s and 80s music, because that's the charm of these Guardians of the Galaxies, is that Peter Quill just puts on this music and it's freaking amazing because we all know it, and they're like, oh, and it's super nice. But overall, I think the movie was well produced, well done. James Gunn, you got my solid seal of approval. Please make more movies with Guardians, please. I think that this movie was a good send off for the Guardians, and it was really, really nice. My final verdict for the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, The Last Guardians of the Galaxy, is going to be the highest I can give, and it's near perfect. Just if you fix a couple story elements that I'm going to talk about in spoilers, and also the music, I give it the highest. 9 out of 10. Go out and see this movie. This movie is definitely worth your time. It is definitely worth your $8. There's one scene in particular that I will talk about in spoilers that is worth your ticket price. And so I think that you guys should go out and see this movie. And that is my review. And I hope to see you guys in the spoiler sections after you guys have watched this movie. Okay, so we are into the spoilers section. As you can see with this right here, I moved it from here to here. So that means we're in spoiler section. So let's get to the freaking spoilers. First of all, is Rocket's story is freaking terrifying. So whenever you meet Rocket, he's like, I'm not a raccoon. I'm not a raccoon. Please stop calling me a raccoon. Badger, I'm not a badger. And we see that at the first of the film, and he's like really sad, and he's like, I just don't know what to do. And so we get to actually see his backstory, and his backstory is that he was an experiment, an extraordinary. The High Extraordinary is like pitch perfect, not look-alike, but like mindset of him. And Rocket was able to figure out the whole problem of why are these animals turning mean and gross and just outright disgusting. And Rocket figures these things out, and he's like, how did you know that? How did you know that? And it was like, oh my gosh, Rocket is way smarter than this guy. Like, oh my gosh, what is going to happen? And so Rocket's like, oh my gosh, we figured it out. Oh my gosh. And so then he's thrown back in his cage. And he meets these 3 other animals. They get their names in the movie. You've already seen the movie. So, Floor, Lila, and Teefs. Teefs is my favorite. That guy was super funny. It was just all around amazing. He was super funny. He was the wheelchaired otter. The wheelchair walrus, actually. He was just downright funny. It was super funny. And so you see this kind of backstory of the High Extraordinary actually, fixes his problem with what Rocket said. And Rocket's like, so are we gonna go now to the new planet? We're gonna go home and see the sky? And he's like, are you stupid? Are you stupid? You're not coming. You're stupid. I could just program you into the other guys. Like, what are you talking about? Kill. They're like, what do you want us to do with Batch 89? And he goes, incinerate them all. We know Rocket lives, but we don't know exactly, like, does he get out? Does he almost get incinerated? Like, that's like, I was like sitting there, I was like, oh my gosh, like, how does he get out of this? He builds this key to swipe out the door. And he opens the door and he's like, oh my gosh, I figured it out. And so he opens the door to Lila's door so that they can all get out and go to the ship. And he's like, hey, there's a ship. I know exactly where the ship is. I can fly it. I can get us out of here. We can go wherever we want. And the High Evolutionary kills Lila, shoots her right in the back. And I immediately was like, no freaking way you just did that. Like, Marvel had the balls to kill off an animal. I was like, oh my gosh, that is awful. Like, I was literally sitting in the theater, my eyes were just, like, watering. I was like, I was like, what is happening? And Rocky just was on the screen. Just super sad. And I'm even tearing up right now just talking about it. And he's like, I knew you would do something like this. And I was like, oh. Shoot! And so then, I mean, Rocket is full of rage. And all of a sudden, I was like, oh, he's about to do something that he's going to regret. This man claws off this man's face. Oh my gosh. And doesn't he does a pretty sing. Holy crap. I mean, he's like, it's like, and it was like, what in the world? I was like, yes. Like, that was the first time I was actually like super excited. And then these other people are starting to shoot, but they're missing for some odd reason. I was like, why are they missing? They actually kill the other two that tried to escape. They kill Teefs and they kill Floor. And then Rocket sees it, and I mean, he's just filled with ultimate despair, and he's like, I gotta get out of here. And that's when the movie really hit the 9 for me. And also another place where I cried was whenever Rocket died. Now, to preface, nobody dies in this movie, which I was like, what the heck? No one dies. We get a couple of instances before I talk about Rocket's death. We get a couple of instances where Drax is on, like, Adam Warlock's just punching the crap out of Drax. And Drax is sitting there, he's like, and we're like, oh my gosh, Drax just died. Like, oh my gosh. And then he's fine. And then we get another instance in the Orgo Corp, where Drax is shot with a gun, but we don't really know how powerful these guns are. And Drax is pretty strong, considering he's the destroyer of planets, of people. And so we get to see these guns, and they shoot him in the back, they shoot him in the chest, and he's like, and it's like, oh my gosh, they just killed off Drax. Oh my gosh, they actually did it. No one dies in this movie, which I thought was a bold play by Marvel, but I think it works here. And I'm gonna tell you that in a little bit. And so Rocket's death is just absolutely wild. So they get the thing. They have to get this key. They have to get the key out of this guy's like head. And so they go and get this key and have this super cool fight scene where Groot pulls out like 17 million guns and starts shooting everybody. And he's like, oh! It was pretty cool. I was like laughing. I was like, yes, let's go. It was just super cool. And then you get like kind of like the High Revolutionaries like plot point, and Star-Lord's like, bro, I don't care about some guy whose mom didn't love him, and now he's trying to conquer the earth. Like, I don't care. I've seen it too many times. And he's like, I'm not trying to conquer the earth. I'm trying to perfect it. I don't care. It was super funny. And so they get this guy, and they throw him out the window. And then they go and get him. And then Groot has this freaking fly suit now, which is freaking amazing. And they take off the thing that's in his head, and they hook it up to Rocket, and to take off this thing in his heart that's basically a self-destruct if anybody goes poking around in him. And so the key doesn't work. Well, hang on. The key does work, but it's not enough to save him in that moment that we see it, so we think that the key was a little too late. And so Rocket goes into, I think, cardiac arrest, and then just flatline. What? You're just gonna kill him like that? Like, what? I was like, what? No. Gamora is like, which I think she's the weakest part of this story, but I'll get to that after I'm talking about this. Star-Lord's like, I'm not giving up on my best friend. And I was like, that's a good freaking pilot right there. That's a good freaking captain. Don't give up on people. And he doesn't give up. And we get to see this like this kind of like white thing. And Rocket's walking around, and he sees Lila, and she's like, we're okay. We're here. We're in the new place. And he's like, can I come? And they're like, of course you can. And he's like, walk in, and she's like, not yet. And I was like, oh my gosh, like my heart dropped. And then Rocket comes back, and everybody's like, crying, and then we get to the final act of this movie, which I felt like it was a little bit of a letdown. But we got a fight scene with the High Extraordinary and Rocket and like his redemption arc, and it was so freaking cool. Because Rocket finally figures out that he's a raccoon. Finds the raccoons. He's like gonna save them all because they're just like him. Like that's exactly what he is. He's a raccoon. And he looks over and it says, common name raccoon, and he goes, shoot. And so he saves them all, and as he's about to walk out, the High Extraordinary is just like, you think I'm gonna let you just get away like that? And he starts kicking him, starts punching him, throwing him on the wall. I was like, Rocky, you better blow this guy's face off right now. I swear, bro. Rocket has these gravity boots that we see in the first of the movie, and he uses them, and he goes, you just messed up, bro. And, I mean, he just, like, shoots him, and he goes, nah. My name is Rocket. Rocket Raccoon. Boom! And I was like, yes! Let's go! Like, that was so funny. And it was so good to see all the Guardians get a freaking punch and whack at him. And you see this little, like, skin coming off. And you realize that his face is a mask. And so Gamora just peels it off. And you'd hear the... Oh! It was dark. It was dark. You get to actually see this guy's face, which is surprising in a Marvel movie. Like, usually they don't get to see, like, you see blood or anything. Like, this movie, you see animal abuse, you see a guy get blown to smithereens, and you get to see a guy's face just, like, clawed off, and it's bloody and it's gross. And he's like, and Drax like, kill him! Let's kill him! And Rocket's like, nah, I'm a freaking Guardian of the Galaxy. And just leaves him. I would have liked to have seen, like, you know, Gamora just be like, I'm not a part of you guys. And just kills him. But I think that would have been, like, way too obvious. Or, you know, Nebula is just, like, gives him a little kick and that kills him. I feel like that would have been kind of funny for her character. And so then we get this, like, cool scene where they're saving all the animals and saving all these little children, as I like to call them. Little jubes. And then as they're saving them, everyone's on the board, and Peter Quill drops his tape player that his mom, I think his mom or his grandpa gave to him, and he goes back for it. And so he grabs one of the, like, pipes to give him just a little bit of boost to go back, because the ship is already separated, and he hits a debris. He's not able to make it. And I was like, oh my gosh, they just killed off one of the greatest, like, oh my gosh, you've got to be kidding me. No freaking way. And that's when I cried again. And then Adam Warlock gets a redemption arc right here. So I felt like Adam Warlock was just a comedy relief, which is kind of stupid because, I mean, he's, like, powerful. Like, he's almost to the same level as Captain Marvel, but we don't even see Captain Marvel's powers. You get to see him kind of have his redemption arc as Groot saves him on the planet, and he's like, why'd you save me? Why'd you do that? I was trying to kill you, bro. And he goes, I am Groot. And then Dragon's like, he said, everyone deserves a second chance. And he's like, oh my gosh, okay, like, I can do this. And so, as Quill is out there, you're like, oh my goodness, he's gonna be safe, he's gonna be fine. And then you see his face just like, and I was like, oh, he's dead. And I was like, okay, he's dead. Like, there's no way. There's no way you're coming back from that, bro. Like, his face starts bloating, and it was just like, yeah, you're dead. And Adam Warlock goes out and saves him, and that's his redemption arc of saving the Guardians of the Galaxy, saving Quill. And, you know, he's like, Peter wakes up and he's like, was that cool? And everybody gives him a hug except Gamora. You see her, she's like, man, what the? So she goes off and she takes off. And so the ending of this movie is the Guardians of the Galaxy split up. And I think that is a perfect send-off for this movie. I think that is the perfect send-off for this movie. This movie didn't need anybody to die. I think what they needed was something incentive for everybody to do something else. So Peter, his incentive is he's been running his entire life since he was 8. He doesn't know how to drive a car, as we see. He doesn't know his real family. He hasn't talked to his grandpa. He lost his mother. He lost Yondu. He almost lost Rocket. Like, he's lost a lot of things. He lost his father in the second movie. And, I mean, it was just kind of one of those things where he's like, I need to do my own thing. And Mantis like, yeah, me too! I want to do the exact same thing, only way different, because I've been running my entire life, and I want to do my own thing, because women! And Drax is like, I'll come with you. And she's like, no, I don't want you to come. Well, what is Drax going to do? And Nebula is now the captain, I think, of Nowhere. She's like, Drax, I need your help. You're not Drax the Destroyer. You're Drax the dad. And I was like, Drax the daddy! Let's go! Drax the daddy! And because in the movie, he tells you he's able to communicate to these kids that you save on the High Extraordinary's like ship or planet or whatever. And Drax is able to save them, tell them, hey, get away from the wall, we're gonna shoot it up, we're gonna save you though. And so he's able to communicate with these girls, these children, and he is needed to do that. And so Rocket's like, so that's it? That's the Guardians of the Galaxy? We're done? And Peter's like, we still need a Guardians of the Galaxy, just not us. And so Rocket is then appointed as the Guardians of the Galaxy captain. And at the end of kind of like where Rocket is made captain, you know, they're all going, Groot finally says something that we actually know. English. He says English. He goes, I love you guys. And that part was so critical because now we finally are able to understand Groot. And I think that's where kind of Groot's arc as I am Groot, that's the only three things that he says, is now we're going to be able to understand what he's saying. Because we are part of the Guardians of the Galaxy. We are part of this family. And that is so cool to see. Along with Groot, Adam Warlock, another girl that I don't know. There's Rocket, and then James Gunn's brother. I can't remember his name, but he's with the stick. And then Cosmo, which I thought they did a poor thing of doing Cosmo. They just kind of did this whole bad dog like thing with her, and I was like, that's kind of lame. Like, and then at the end of the movie, she like airtight. Makes the two planets like sealed off from the space so that everybody can get on this planet. And so I feel like Cosmo did a disservice too. And so I mean the movie is just so good. The movie is amazing. Definitely go out and see it. I'm trying to think if there is anything else that I need to talk about in the spoilers. Oh, there is two after credit scenes. The first post-credit scene is you get to see the new Guardians, and they're all talking about their favorite music, and while they're waiting in the desert for some odd reason, and then Rocket's like, this one's a classic, and we get to hear Come and Get Your Love, and it is so freaking good. And I was like, that's a perfect send-off for this movie, to play the first song that was ever played in this movie, in this kind of series. And you get to see he's like, all right, Groot, let's get up. And Groot's like freaking massive. He's like jacked. And so they go and fight. And we get to see that. I don't know if they'll get their own Guardians of the Galaxy movie. They'll probably get like the new Guardians of the Galaxy or something like that. I think we'll definitely see these characters again. Otherwise, they wouldn't have given us that. And then the second post-credit scene is the best post-credit scene. You get to see Peter Quill eat cereal with his grandpa after he reunites with his grandpa at the end of the movie. And you know, his grandpa's reading a newspaper that says Kevin Bacon was kidnapped, Kevin Bacon abducted, as it happened in the holiday special, which is human trafficking, but we won't get into that because that was like a long time ago. And I mean, they're eating cereal, and it's like, okay, we're gonna see something like, you know, like some, like Kane's gonna come and be like, hello, Star-Lord. No, it's just him eating cereal and talking about mowing the lawn. And then we fade to white. And it says the legendary Star-Lord will return. And I flipped out. I freaking flipped out. Because now I think we're going to get a solo legendary Star-Lord movie, which will tie in to the Avengers Secret Wars or Kang Dynasty or whichever one. And I think that's so perfect. This movie actually doesn't tie in to the Marvels, which I thought maybe it would do. I think that the way that they did it was fine. We get to see a trailer of the Marvels, which sucks. I'm gonna go see it, I guess, but I really am not looking forward to it. I don't like Brie Larson, but the previews were pretty good. If anybody wanted to know about those, but this movie is an all-around fun time. If you're wanting to go on like a date or something and watch this movie, bring the tissue box because you are going to cry. Unless you're not a crier in movies, then oh well, you're gonna cry. This movie is a perfect send off for this entire series. With the heart, the soul, the music, the action, the story, the ending, the post credit scenes, all make this movie worthwhile. Except for the music, which I said in my spoiler free. The music is just, it's fine. It's fine. It's not as good as Guardians of the Galaxy 1. But that's my review of Guardians of the Galaxy 3. I hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, please leave a like and a thumbs up. Retry. That is my review of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. If you did, please leave a like, comment, subscribe. We're almost at 30 subscribers, which is freaking insane. And so just leave a like, comment how I did on this review if you want to see more reviews. Subscribe to the channel and watch my other videos too. We're almost at 100 views on one video, which is insane. And so I thank you guys so much for the support, and I will see you guys in the next video. See you later, gamers.